It's Graham here, living the dream in June 2024. And after months and months and what seems like months of planning, it's time for the big one. Hi, I'm Graham, and this is my wife Fiona, and we have always had a work hard, play hard philosophy. From London to New York, and of course the Caribbean, we live our dream through travel. And of course, the odd cocktail. And here on YouTube, we create our memories while living our dream. So come and join us as we share our memories with you. Okay guys, this is the first of many trip reports during our big Pacific adventure. And in this, our first trip report from Glasgow down to London Heathrow. The next video will be Heathrow across to San Francisco. I'm asking the question, is British Airways, Club Europe, or their inter-European and domestic business class service worth the extra money? Having a quick look at the British Airways, that's www.ba.com website, looking at flights from Glasgow down to London Heathrow, a month to 2 months, maybe even 3 months out. The average cost difference between an economy fare and a Club Europe or a business class fare is anywhere between 100 and about 170 to 200 pounds extra. Now in this particular ticket that Fiona and I are travelling on, we have paid for every single flight on this trip out of our own pockets. I'm not using Avios, not using air miles at all. This trip has been paid using our hard-earned cash. So we booked a business class round trip from Glasgow to London to San Francisco, then Sacramento to Honolulu, Honolulu, Kona back to Los Angeles to London, and of course back up to Glasgow. And it was done through one entire travel agent booked ticket. So in the end, what I'm trying to say is we're going on British Airways business class or Club Europe from Glasgow down to London because it was simply part of our business class ticket. And that is, or should I say, that is typically the only reason I ever fly business class down to London. 7 days out is extremely important when you're a bronze member of the British Airways Executive Club, because 7 days out today, Sunday with 1 week to go, is the day that I can reserve seats on the outbound flights at absolutely no cost at all. And that's something I quickly want to talk about. One of my biggest bugbears about British Airways is the fact that you've got to pay to reserve your seats in advance. Now, I've got absolutely no issue doing that on board a Ryanair or an EasyJet or even a Jet2, a low-cost airline, because you really know what you're getting. But when you're paying thousands of pounds on business class fare across the pond, I do think that it is a bit rich of British Airways to charge you again to reserve your seats. Now, on the particular flight that we're talking about today, which is the Glasgow down to London, for some reason, Fiona and I were already booked in seats 2A and 2C in the Club Europe cabin, and I didn't have to pay for those. I've got no idea how that happened. It just appeared in my BA account. But on the London San Francisco flight, British Airways were looking for £118 each to book seats until about 15 minutes ago, because when you're a bronze member of the BA Executive Club, you literally have got to get onto their website. And in fact, not the website in this instance because it simply didn't work. I went on to the British Airways Executive app on my iPhone and I reserved Fiona and I seat 13 and 14K on the right hand side of the aircraft, which should give us a pretty good engine view on our flight from London to San Francisco. So in conclusion, with 7 days to go, what are the perks about flying British Airways business class? Quite frankly, none at all, guys. You don't get anything extra. You'll get a few things extra, and you'll see those next week when we're on our way down to London. As for now, that's it for 7 days to go. Right guys, that is the boarding passes printed for our flight down to London first thing tomorrow morning and then on to San Francisco tomorrow afternoon. On British Airways, you can check in 24 hours in advance only. That's the earliest you can do it. Unlike here in Europe, EasyJet, Ryanair and Jet2, where you can check in, well, it's been weeks in advance. I have no idea why British Airways is 24 hours, but I'm afraid that's it when you're flying with British Airways. So 24 hours before travel, there is still no difference between flying economy or Club Europe on board British Airways because you can check in both classes 24 hours in advance. The big differences, of course, will come when we get to the airport with priority check-in, with fast-track security, and of course the lounge. Fiona loves a champagne when she's going on holiday, even though it's first thing in the morning even, and no doubt that is where we'll be going when we get to the airport. So that's it from 24 hours before we head out to San Francisco. Due to the length of this particular trip, it was much cheaper to take a taxi to Glasgow Airport than drive ourselves, with the parking charges being more expensive than the return taxi. The result being there was no bus from the car park to the terminal. Fiona and I were dropped off, funny enough, at the drop-off pickup point, and we were now heading into the terminal. British Airways use Terminal M at Glasgow Airport, which basically, guys, is the main terminal. And as you enter the terminal at Glasgow Airport, the British Airways check-in area is pretty well straight ahead of you. And there are two lines, a priority and a standard. And this is the first perk that you get when travelling in the Club Europe cabin. But of course, if you're travelling in economy and you're a bronze, silver or gold member of the British Airways Executive Club, you still get to use the priority line. Our check-in was pretty easy this morning, but one of the interesting things was that we were given a £10 each voucher for breakfast because they said the aircraft hadn't been catered coming up from London. With Fiona and I having a reasonable experience of a Club Europe, including the lounge here in Glasgow, a little bit more about that later, we knew that the food options on board, including the lounge here in Glasgow, wouldn't be great. So truth be told, we'd planned to go to Frankie and Benny's for breakfast anyway. This just made it even better this morning because that meant we were going to save £20 on our breakfast. The next perk that you get when travelling in Club Europe is, of course, priority security. And of course, for those of you who are silver or gold in the BA Executive Club, you will also get this anyway, but you can also purchase it via the Glasgow Airport website. As you can imagine, guys, I never film the security process, so Fiona and I were now en route to Frankie and Benny's for breakfast. I did manage to persuade Fiona not to stop in the duty-free shop, but we did go into the Scottish souvenir store. And the reason I'm showing you this in this episode is to prove to my colleague and good friend Brandon, who will appear in a future episode in this big Pacific Adventure series, that we did actually go into the store looking for golf balls for you. Brandon, I know we failed, so if you give me a little bit more notice next time, I will do my best to order you some golf balls online. I was more than a little bit surprised at how quiet Frankie and Benny's was in Glasgow Airport this morning. And yes guys, breakfast was excellent, and with the help of those vouchers from British Airways, made even better. And after breakfast, it was time to head to the lounge. Access to the British Airways Terrace Lounge is the third perk that you will receive when travelling Club Europe. And if you are a silver or gold member of the BA Executive Club, you can also access this lounge travelling in economy. The BA Terrace Lounge in Glasgow is not a bad place to spend an hour or so while waiting on your flight. And while it might look pretty quiet on this particular Sunday morning, I can assure you guys it's not like this at the same time during the week.
Cheers.
Because there are no boarding announcements made in the lounge, I tend to head down to the gate 20 to 30 minutes before departure. And today was no different, as Fiona and I headed towards the gate just after the BA app told us that our flight was boarding. By the time Fiona and I arrived at the BA boarding gate area, we got quite concerned because it was absolutely empty. There was nobody about. And what had transpired is our aircraft boarded early because it had been sitting here in the ground overnight, and they were keen to get this aircraft down to London as soon as possible. And to our relief, we weren't the last passengers boarding this flight. There was one passenger ahead of us, and that meant we wouldn't be getting the cold stare from every passenger as we boarded the aircraft this morning. To our relief, as you can see, there were other passengers still boarding ahead of us. Sitting comfortably in seats 2A and 2C, Fiona and I were keen to get the first part of our journey to San Francisco underway. And this, guys, is perk number 4 of flying in the Club Europe cabin. While the seat size, pitch and legroom is identical to what you'll get back in economy, in Club Europe the middle seat is blocked. As we broke out of the cloud en route to our cruising altitude, it's time to talk about the next perk that you get when flying Club Europe. While back in economy, you'll be given a bottle of water and a biscuit. Here in Club Europe or business class, you will of course get breakfast. You will certainly get a lot more to eat than you will do in economy, but remember that we were already given £10 each because they weren't catering this flight. However, we did get coffee, orange juice and a croissant. I didn't think it was too bad at all. With the flight time between Glasgow and London only being an hour, it wasn't long until we were starting our descent towards Heathrow. perk that you get when flying Club Europe is, of course, the ability to be off the aircraft first because you're at the front of the plane. So as Fiona and I make our way towards the Terrace Lounge here at London Heathrow Terminal 5, it's time to get back to the question I asked at the beginning of this episode. Is British Airways Club Europe worth the £100 to £170 more than economy? For that extra £100 to £170, you get priority check-in, including 2 hold bags instead of 1, and then priority security. You then get access to the British Airways lounge before being in Group 1 and first onto the aircraft, where you get a blocked off middle seat, some food and beverages before being first off the aircraft at your destination. The question is it worth it? Well guys, to be honest, that's down to your personal opinion. I've paid it in the past due to circumstances, and on this particular journey it was provided as part of our ticket from Glasgow to San Francisco, Honolulu, Kona, LA, and then back to Glasgow via London Heathrow. So really it was just part of our business class ticket. Also bear in mind that if you're a silver or a gold card holder as part of the British Airways Executive Club, you get a lot of these services included with your membership as well. Anyway, that's it for this episode. In the next episode, you can follow Fiona and I as we make our way across to San Francisco on board a British Airways 777-300ER in the Club World Suites. So until that episode, thank you very much for watching.